Rock Stars.
Rock Stars Girls Lacrosse.
Rock Stars Girls Lacrosse.
The Rock Stars Girls Lacrosse Show with hosts Ronnie Davis and Craig Spazman Simmons.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rock Stars Girls Lax podcast with me, Ronnie Davis, and Craig the Spazman Simmons.
What's up?
What's up? Spaz.
Yeah.
Big weekend of lacrosse we just went through.
Very.
4 Section 5 teams traveled down to Cortland.
Yes, they did.
Playing the state semifinal games last Friday. But we went over.
Listen, 0 for 4 on the field, 4-0 in our hearts.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah.
0 for, Long Island went 4-0. Section 3 teams, 3 of the 4 went on to the championship game, but Long Island was just too tough.
Well, let's just, not to throw anybody else under the bus, but Section 3 also came up shorthanded in that whole situation. So, 3 and 5, just those 11 the Long Island teams, they're just so tough. And we've talked about it over and over. And during my broadcast, I just noticed one common denominator in every game that I broadcast. I did 3 out of 4. They are very aggressive. They're very aggressive. They're physical. They're fast. You can't get squat from free position because they're so quick on the first and second step. They got it.
They are, and it seems like they're all the same. Very athletic, play extremely stingy defense.
Yeah.
And patient. They're all very patient, and they wait and wait and wait, and then they strike, and they kind of just wear you down. And
they're very well coached. Not to say anybody else is or isn't, but very well coached. Now we're going to get into it, but we had a couple times where there was some hope. There was some hope a couple different times. In the Pelmac game, it was a 1-goal game at the half, and then the second half just fell apart for Pelmac. And then in your game, you guys were tied up with, I think we were talking about before the podcast, it was tied up with 5, 6, 7 minutes left to go?
Yeah, 6 minutes left. It was a tie score, 4-4 from the 19-minute mark all the way down to the 6-minute mark. So, yes, there was definitely some hope on a couple teams, and we're going to be calling. I just got the okay to call Andra Savage from Pelmac, get her take on it. It's been her third time to the state semifinals.
She's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorites.
So she's going to be able to provide some insight on, the magical tour she's had for the last 3 years and what we can expect from Pelmac next year.
I'll tell you, the thing I want to talk to her about is at the half, okay? At the half, it was 5-5 at the draw. Emma Arnold was doing it. It was 5-5, okay? Second half, shutout. 1 draw for Pelmac. They had one quality offensive possession during the entire second half. Emma Arnold got one from free position with about a minute left. So I'm not going to necessarily call that the highest quality possession. I'm just saying that in the second half, Matituck made a major adjustment at the draw, and I don't know what it is, but I'm hoping that she can add some insight into what that adjustment was. Because like I said, it was 5-5 on draws at the half.
Yeah.
And then Emma just got shut down. She got 1 draw in the second.
I'm sure they made an adjustment. Fitz, do we have Andra on the phone? Yes, if you could, please. Would be great. Like we talked about Pelmac before. They got some really good kids that they're building around. They got Jamie Walker, Emma Arnold, and Andra, and they're going to build around that team.
Let's not forget Weaver, the goaltender. And look at how young she is. Look at how small she is. Imagine if she can hit a growth spurt. I saw a picture of her and Andra Savage afterward, and I thought actually that was Andra hanging out with one of the youth players. I really did. And then I looked who it was, and I went, wow, that's Weaver. So she's going to hit a growth spurt, I imagine, at some point in time or another. But she's a good little goalkeeper.
Yeah. And, and my conversations with Coach Burse is, he's very optimistic about the whole program. And I like like what I see out there. He's doing a fantastic job with growing these kids. They are, Class D, a smaller school, but they're going out there and they're like you said, they're getting off the bus. They're competing, especially with they got 3 major kids that are competing. But it looks like they're building the team around those 3 kids. So let's go to the phones and talk to Andra Simmons. Andra.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Welcome to the Rockstar Girls Lex podcast with myself and Craig the Spazman Simmons.
Yeah.
Andra, third time to the States for the Pelmac Lady Raiders. And it definitely, we have talked several times on this podcast about you and Jamie and Emma being the leaders on that team. And, obviously getting to your third state semis, but coming up short, as usual, to the Long Island teams, as everyone had come up short to. How's the journey been? How's the program feeling? And you're losing Jamie and Emma to graduation this year, and how's that going to affect the team?
I definitely think that they are 2 of the major leaders on our team, so that's just going to leave some room for more girls to step up and become leaders as well. And I think that the youth programs and JV and we're just building our program where everybody can just be as strong, and I think that people are just going to have to step up.
Hey, Andra, it's a Spaz, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. Thanks for joining us here on the Rock Stars. And I just want to talk about at the half of the game against Mattituck on Saturday, it was 5-4 on the board, and it was 5-5 at draw controls. Emma was doing it on the draw controls. It was even Steven heading into the half. And then in the second half, she got shut out. She only got 1 draw control. And what I want to know is, can you give us any insight? Because you were on the field. You also took a couple draws. What kind of adjustments did Hogue make at the draw to kind of shut you guys down in the circle in the second half?
I think she just started to push it. Before, I think she was trying to go to herself, and then she started to move to pushing it to a certain side, and her sister Mackenzie was on the circle too, so I think that just their connection and knowing where the ball was going to go, that was just really it.
How did at halftime, the halftime speech, you guys were in it, as Craig said, 5-4 at the half. Coming out of the half, what was the vibe in the halftime speech? I mean, did you guys think that you had the momentum going forward?
Yeah, I think we definitely talked about how we needed to stay composed and how it was going to come down to who works the hardest. And I definitely think we worked really hard. It's just I think they had a deeper bench.
Andra, moving forward, we have alluded to it. We've talked about it a little bit, but losing Emma, going to Ohio State, losing Jamie Walker, that's basically by default going to move you into the top spot as far as being a leader on and off the field goes. I know you dig coaching the younger kids. Talk to us a little bit about that. What's the mindset going into next season? I know it just ended, but I know a competitor like you is always moving on to the next step. What's your mindset moving in, knowing that you're going to be the one that everybody looks to as far as leadership next season?
I think it's just going to be that I need to make sure that everybody on the team feels like they can come to practice and work their hardest and be recognized for all the work they do. And I just want the whole team to feel like a family.
Now, Andra, you're committed to go to Towson to play Division I lacrosse, and you've certainly deserved that opportunity. You struggled with a knee injury. You're back this year. How's the outlook going forward for this summer and then going into next year with your knee? I know you're rehabbing it. Is it back to 100% yet? And just a twofold question. I know Towson just lost their defensive coach, Mike Molster. He went to Rutgers, I believe. No, Penn State. And
Penn State, yeah.
Yeah, and what's the outlook with Towson? Are you looking forward to getting there?
Yes, I'm really excited. I just know that, and I'm still in PT, so I know that I just need to keep working on to strengthening my legs to get to Towson and hopefully play.
Andra, how important has club lacrosse been to you and getting to where you're at right now? Now, once they went over to Class C in 2017, you guys won 3 straight sectionals. You went to 3 straight states. What impact has club lacrosse had on you up till this point in your lacrosse career?
I think it definitely has had a huge impact on me, and I know it has impact on other girls too. And I think that just going to practice all the time, always working on stick skills, just playing against really high competition has really helped me to succeed.
Nice. Well, Andra, thanks for coming on the show this week. We wish you the best of luck this summer. I'm going to be coaching your Monster 2020 team as much as possible, but as you know, I have to step down to the Monster 22s, and I'm certainly going to miss you guys. But I think that you guys are going to do well this summer, and I look forward to seeing how that knee has progressed and get you back out on the field with that Monster team full force. So thanks so much for coming on this weekend or this week, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Andra.
Great kid, Andra. She is
one of my favorites.
Yeah, she's been on varsity since 7th grade in Pelmac, and she definitely has put up her fair share of points over the last 5 years.
You know, we've talked about her mom.
Yep.
The persistent pit bull. We've talked about her. That's her new nickname with me. We've talked about her, and she Facebooked me off to the side and just wanted to make sure that I knew that Sports 5 only goes back to a certain point, and that Andra's been playing longer on varsity, so some of her points, are actually missing, and she just wanted to make sure that that I was on top of that.
Well, I tell you that her mom's a great lady, and was very involved in Andra's success. Bringing her to tournament after tournament and camp after camp, and I tell you this: whatever points that Andra does have, they're certainly well deserved.
Yes, without a doubt.
So let's go into Class C. We have Cold Springs Harbor played HFL.
Yeah.
HFL has been there year after year after year after year. And we've talked to Coach O'Connell before about the differences between Long Island and, what the big differences is and why there's such a gap advantage. And he was there again. And, he gets through Section 5 Class C championship. And then, as we talked about, the buzzsaw hits with Cold Spring Harbor. My question is it Cold Spring Harbor or is it Section 5? Who's the dominant one there? Or less dominant, I should say.
It's all I can say is it's Section 5 because the record speaks for itself. Because we've had this conversation over and over. Mm-hmm. The way we dominate, the way Section 5 dominates Section 6, Section 11 and 8, and sometimes 1, they dominate Section 5.
Right.
So it's more what Long Island is doing than what we're not doing, in my opinion. Because at what point do we go, what more can we do? Like I say, the game between Mattituck and Pelmac, the Class D game, 1 goal at halftime, and then the adjustments were made, and it was just a completely different half. The Tuckers of Mattituck outscored Pelmac 4-1, and that one was a free position in the last minute. And don't get mad at me, PC people, in garbage time. Okay, and then your game was competitive, and then the
Class C game,
and it just.
I will say this in defense of HFL and not just Section 5, but HFL in general is, Cold Spring Harbor will put a beat down on a lot of the A schools and B schools.
Yeah, no question.
In Section 5 or whatever, they're just as good as Northport or. Eastport, South Manor, Cold Spring Harbor. So I'm anxious to see how that continues to work out, how we make adjustments here in Section 5 as far as beds are concerned with, what schools are playing in which class and so forth. But, like you said, HFL, they get off the bus. Every time in Cortland, they get off the bus, they go out there and play. And as Coach O'Connell has alluded to in the past that, they're just more kids playing lacrosse down there. Yeah. More kids playing club lacrosse. They draw from 4 million people. We draw from a couple 100,000.
It's not like we're talking about bad coaches. We're not talking about bad coaching. We're not talking about bad players. Just like you said, there's a bigger well to draw from down there, and you have more of an opportunity to find the top-notch players, the cream of the crop.
Right.
And the Tewarton Award winner is from Long Island.
Yeah, Megan Taylor, right?
Yeah, this year. Yeah. So, I mean,
they got players. They're all they got a lot of players, and we'll talk more about Northport when we talk about Class A.
Yeah.
But let's go to the phones. I think we got Lexi Brineckie, the big rig.
The big rig. Nice surprise.
Lexi.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, welcome to the Rockstars Girls Lax podcast with myself and Craig the Spazman Simmons.
The big rig.
Oh, good to be here.
Lex, tough loss on Friday. I shared that with you. You got through the weekend, and today is a new day, as we talked about after the game. And we're going to look forward in Canandaigua to moving forward and to try to finish some unfinished business next year. How is the bus ride home? I'm sure was tough, but like I say, Monday, today's a new day. How do you feel today, and what do we do moving forward to take care of business for next year?
Well, I think that the bus ride was hard, but it wasn't even as much as the fact we lost. It was the fact that our season was over and that we wouldn't have another game or another practice together with this team, because this is one of the closest teams this is the closest team I've ever been a part of. And I think the biggest thing is that we already just miss each other, and the fact that we don't have practice at 3 later today is just something that we're not really used to. But I think as for next year, we just need to remember that being together and having our team chemistry can really take us far. And I think that's what happened this year, and that if we keep working, we can finish our business next year.
Lexi, I had the chance to ask Andra Savage this question. I'm going to ask it of you. I'm just going to walk it right over to you. Junior this year and going to be a senior next year. You're losing a lot of the senior leadership that you had on the field, both on and off this year. And what is the difference of leadership, the level of leadership for you this year compared to what is most likely going to be expected of you next season as one of the seniors?
I think I'll definitely have to step up next year being one of the seniors, but the seniors this past season have set a really good example of what it means to have leadership on this team, and they have done a really good job of leading our team to states, and they have reminded us what's important this season and what we've needed to do to get to where we went. So I'm just going to try to follow in their footsteps because they really kept our team together this year.
So, Lex, on a personal level with you, you had to step into some shoes this year that I'm not sure that you knew you had to do right away. Last year, Canandaigua had, Lindsay Rio and Megan Hoffman, and Loren, was a big part of last year's offensive team. And, Loren went down in the scrimmage against Fairport. You were playing midfield at that time. We needed to move you to midfield to balance out, what we were doing to make up for the loss of Loren. And you kind of took that ball and you ran with it. You were, you really came out of your shell this year. And, I think that we pulled everything out of you. You just had a great season. And let me get your thoughts on that. Going from, having a mediocre season last year and stepping into the limelight this year, how personally, tell me about what you're feeling.
Well, thank you for saying I had a good season this year, but I think it was, again, I have to credit the seniors because they really led our team, and on and off the field, the seniors and everyone on our team just kept telling me that even if I had messed up or turned it over a bunch, that I had it and that I just needed to not get in my head too much. And I think that's what I did a lot of last year. And that's what you and Nemo really helped me with as well this season, is just to not get in my head too much and to know that I had things under control and that I could do what was needed of me this season. And I don't exactly miss midfield, but I have a new love for attack, and I really enjoyed playing it this year.
So, Lexi, we have discussed this over and over and over with coaches and other brainiacs involved in the game of lacrosse, but I don't think I've actually ever had the opportunity to talk at length with any of the players. You just had a nice game, or a game against Eastport, South Manor, Long Island. What can Section 5 do on or off the field to be able to compete with Long Island and finally say, we've had enough and we want to compete with these guys?
I mean, I think our past game this weekend, I think we did compete. We showed up to play, and I think that we just need to, in the future, I think we need to just know that we can play with these teams and we can keep up with them, and that we aren't the underdog teams like Ronnie has been telling us, and that we can play with these teams and we can beat them.
Do you think that, obviously I got the job in late February, and we've only, as a team, has spent roughly 3 months together, 4 months, 3.5 months. What's the plan going forward with yourself personally? I know you're going to play Monster Lacrosse this summer with that team, but as far as planning for next year, planning to take care of business, how are you gonna get all the girls together and get them on the same page and to move forward with just getting ready for the next year?
Well, I think that being a senior next year, it'll give me the push I need to step up and be a leader for this team. And definitely having you and having turf time available will definitely be something that can help us in the off season. But also, it's just a huge advantage because last year at this time and even later, we did not have a coach. So it was hard for seniors to organize things when they didn't have coaches' backup on things. But now that we do have a coach and we know how we can play and what we can do to win, I think it's really going to help us next year to step up and finish business.
Lexi, I'm pretty sure you and I have talked about this at some point in time. I've had the opportunity to interview you a couple times. How much have you been able to lean on Juju for guidance, both on and off the field? And, is it voluntary on your part that you went to her for it, or does she come up and offer? Or is it a little bit of mix of both?
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound too corny, but she is my best friend in the world, and I actually started playing lacrosse because of her, because when I was younger, I looked up to everything she did. I wanted to be her. I wanted to do everything that she was doing. So I really did start lacrosse because of her. And when I was on JV and modified, she was one of the studs on varsity, so I've always looked up to her. And then when she went D1 for college, I just knew that was something that I wanted to do. And she definitely helped me off the field in every way possible. But on the field as well, she will tell me, she'll be straight up with me if I need to do something better, if I do something wrong. And she just really helps me all the time with everything in my life.
So, Lex, again, back to you personally, and I need you to be a little selfish here in your answer. You have busted out of your shell. And now you can see, what Lexi Brineckie can do, not only for her team, but for herself and for her future. I can only think that the Niagara coaches are salivating the fact that you're going to be going to school there, and now we're talking. They're looking for you to start as a freshman. They're looking for you to be this player that they just realized they have. Selfishly, I mean, you deserve everything you get, but let me be honest with you. You're a top level player now. You're a top kid in Section 5. You're a top recruit for Niagara. How do you feel about that?
I am. I'm very proud of what I've done this season, and I'm really glad that I was able to step up because last year I knew I didn't play to my full potential. And I am very excited for not only senior year, but the next 4 years after. And I just already know some of the people on the Niagara team, and I've enjoyed playing with some of them. Tegan, especially from Pittsburgh, I am very excited to play with her and all the other recruits my age. And I do love the coaches, and I can't wait to play for them. And I am just very excited, and I'm glad that I did break out this year because I knew I could play better than I have in the past, and I'm glad that I just found my confidence this year to do so.
Oh, good. So, thanks for coming on the show. I want to reiterate to you again that you are in the top topic of every conversation when it comes to top kids in Section 5 now. And you've deserve that. You earned it. And, me personally, Spaz as a coach that gets to coach her, I couldn't be more happy to, as what Canandaigua's future looks like.
She's one of my favorites. She's the big rig, bro. Come on.
So, Lexi, thanks for coming on the show this week. We appreciate it. And start rallying the troops together because Canandaigua practice starts tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right. Thanks, kiddo.
Yep. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Good kid. I like her.
Great kid. And, she did bust out of her shell. And man, can she play?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was funny because I was busting her chops about the overhand shot that she likes to take. And it bit her a couple times during the playoffs. And I asked her, when that happens, does that get in her head? Does that keep her thinking, oh, man, I got bit the last time I wanted to do that? And she just said, no, that's her thing. And sometimes it doesn't work. But if something, is working and you're comfortable with it, go with it. So she is well-versed.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I'm sorry to interrupt. Every time in practice, I'm a big proponent of shooting low, right? And I tell the kids over and over every day. And actually, our last practice, I think, was Wednesday in Canandaigua, and she shot the ball on the goalie stick a couple times, and from day one, every time someone shoots the ball on a goalie stick, I yell out, "Thanks for the gumball, Mickey."
Yeah,
and eventually they get sick of hearing me say that. So I thought that Lexi did a great job. In the playoffs and so forth, she scored some really big goals, and her shooting percentage was very high.
Absolutely.
So,
but I think I've told the story, but if not, I'll tell. Her mother asked me at Pittsburgh, why do you call Lexi the big rig? Look at her. She's the big rig, dude.
Right.
She drives wherever she wants to go. She's not afraid of contact. If there's 3 people in front of her, that's not going to stop her from, doing what she has to do to get to the net.
Yeah. So, our game was close. As you said, we were down 4-1 at half.
Yeah.
I told the kids we got to get it back one at a time.
You gave us hope, Ronnie.
And it was a tie game from the 19-minute mark down to the 6-minute mark.
Yeah.
And we could have we took advantage of our opportunities. I thought we had great shots. Their goalie played phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So their goalie made some key saves on us in that span. And then they were able to get one, and then they were getting another. Obviously, they got the empty netter, so I don't really count that. So to me, it was a 6-4 game. But the fact that with 6 minutes left, it was a tie game, and my kids were ready to fight. And they went out there and fought. We did everything we could in women's lacrosse, girls lacrosse, to get the ball back. We pulled our goalie, we put on the extra player, we tried to double. They were just very athletic. They had a number 1 kid in the country, Casey Chomo. We tried to get the ball out of her hands as much as possible.
Yeah, and it'll rear its head a little bit later when we talk about it. But Clancy Rue did another great job of shutting down one of the top players. Not this time, not in the section, but in the country.
In the country,
Choma is
number 1,
the top recruit going to Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
And Clancy basically put the clamp on her. We're going to call it the Clancy clamp, I think.
The Clancy clamp.
She put the clamp on her again. The only problem is they were good enough that they had others. And what is the other girl's name with all the hair there? I can't even.
Number 15.
Yeah. Yes. I can't. For the life of me, I'm having a brain fart. Can't remember her name. She stepped up. She stepped up and she frustrated you guys. So that's what you do, though. That's what next man lacrosse is all about. Or next person lacrosse. Right. That's what it's all about. You shut down the top dog and force them to play somebody else. And unfortunately, they had the depth.
So I came up with an idea during the game. Well, it wasn't during the game. I've thought about it before. So Choma had the ball, right? And it was 4-4 at this point.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I got to get the ball out of Choma's hands. Clancy did a great job face guarding her, killed her. She kept her in check. 0-0. I don't believe she had a goal or an assist in the whole game.
No. Nope.
So, but Choma got the ball, and I needed the ball out of Choma's hands, right? So I had Meg Ellis commit a goal circle violation, right? Which takes the ball out of Choma's hands and brings it back behind the goal to the dot, and we had a double team set up. They got out of it, and again, Choma had the ball again, right? So the official says to me, hey, you can't do that again. And I was like, what do you mean I can't do this
again? Is there a rule that says you
someone
can't?
Tell me why I can't do this again. And he's just like, I'm just letting you know that if you do it again, they're gonna card you for it. So at that time, Eastport scored, right? Because I was going to do it again, and Choma gave the pass to someone and went to another girl. I think they got an 8-meter shot and scored. So I call a protest, right? I'm like, I need to protest this because I need to know what I can do and what I can't. So all of a sudden, we got all the officials in front of me, the other coach, and then all these committee members came out, right?
Yeah, and I was between you and I had no clue what was going on, Ronnie. And I'm like, well, Ronnie's holding court about something.
Yeah, so and I wasn't upset. I was asking very calmly, and I was very calm through it. And I said, okay, the official, the box official just told me that if we commit another goal circle violation, that I'll get carded. And the one lady who I believe she was the head of officials, I don't know her name or her official role, but she came up and she said, I'll take care of this, right? And she said very simply, if you commit another goal circle violation, I'm going to instruct the officials to give you a yellow card for misconduct. And I was like, okay, but in the rules it doesn't say that.
What's the infraction?
What does it fall under?
Yeah.
And she said it's unsportsmanlike to do that. And I said, okay.
In her opinion.
Right. And I wasn't going to argue. Believe me, you're not arguing in that situation. For one, I had, the head of Section 5, Jeff Ontz, right there next to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had my athletic director, my boss, Jim Simmons, right there. So there was going to be no argument out of my mouth. I just wanted to hear, what they said, and I accepted it. I don't agree with it, but, and then we were unable to, to really get the ball back, and they ran out the clock, and they won the game. And I don't think that play had anything to do with them winning the game, because I thought the officials did their job for the game.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is, going forward in terms of making this game, more competitive, more exciting, we've got to get the shot clock into high school lacrosse.
Please.
I don't know how we do that. I got
ASAP.
I got to start asking. I thought that it was on its way. I thought it was budgetary issues.
That's what I had heard.
But it just seems like the people who are running high school lacrosse in New York State or in general have no interest in getting a shot clock down to this level. And it proved to be a factor in 3 of the 4 games. I know Pittsford had an issue with it. Right.
Well, Matatuck used that strategy. They came out and started dominating at the draw, and draw control leads to ball control. And when you control the ball, you control time of possession.
Yeah.
As long as they don't get it, away from you. But yes, please bring the shot clock. Listen, honestly, whatever I can do to make it happen. If you want to start a campaign, I'll be glad to. Who do I write?
Right,
that's
what we have to find.
What do I do?
We have to find the path to find out what we need to do. And secondly, we have to figure out, like in men's basketball, that doesn't happen. It's very cut and dry what the rules are, right? I mean, you foul in men's basketball as a strategy. Right?
Whack-a-shack.
Right.
That's a quintessential
it's a strategy.
example.
It's not unsportsmanlike. It's a strategy.
Yeah.
My strategy was to get the ball out of the best player in the country's hands and into someone else's so we could have an opportunity to get the ball back. And I think that they kind of take that away from you in terms of what, their perception of the rules. And so I'm not complaining about the officials at all. And I'm not complaining about the committee. I think I'm complaining about the system and how in order for, ESPN, the coverage of ESPN college women's lacrosse was minute compared to the men's, right? All the men's games were on ESPNU.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The women's games were not. I think just the championship game was. I think the semifinals might have been on ESPN3. But the NCAA coverage was minute.
Think about it.
Right.
Gets you wondering.
And, how I think that you can correct that is to have more observation by officials and critiquing and evaluating.
I know they do it in basketball.
Officials constantly being evaluated. I went right from Cortland this weekend to UMass, right? For the Monsters had a tournament in UMass. And in the one game I come out and I start coaching and I hear the whistle blow, and I look, and the official's making a call from the midfield, and making a call that's happening down in the crease, right? And I'm like, what? the guy's not running.
Well, there's an
right?
official that's near the crease that's not making the call.
Correct.
Nothing more frustrating.
And so I think that the officials need to be held more accountable for not their calls, not their judgment calls at all, right? Because like I said, 50% is going to applaud you. 50% is going to say that was a terrible call. You cannot win in that situation, right? As an official.
You won't.
You'll never win it. But what I think they can do is work as hard as the kids. They're getting paid to be out there. You have to run. You have to work as hard as the game that you're officiating. And if you don't, I think you're doing the game a disservice.
I don't know if you know this, Andra. I umpire softball. And I completely concur with what you're saying. More accountability, and also you have to move. Not to throw other guys under the bus, but a lot of them don't move from behind home plate to make a call at first. I'm either out by the pitcher circle or running halfway up first to make that call. You have to move because, like you said, you're doing the game, you're doing the players, the coaches, the fans, and yourself a disservice if you don't.
Right, and they're getting paid. They're practically union wages now. I mean, they're demanding $1 an hour, or I'm sorry, $1 a minute to go out there and work. Right, so that
I'm umpiring.
Right.
I'm officiating the wrong thing.
That's that's $50 a game for travel and youth games, but it's more than that for and I understand that they're in a tough situation, and I get that, and I sympathize with that because I've seen a lot of things lately on officials. Leave the officials alone. I agree with that. Leave the officials alone. I think that I've really worked towards leaving them alone. I went through the whole season without a yellow card, just to let you know that.
I saw that. There were times where you were bordering, but you walked right up to the edge and then didn't jump off. So
right. And all my questions were, I was never derogatory or anything like that. My questions were, if you're gonna make a call, just hustle, just run as hard as the other kids. And I think the only way that we're gonna make that happen is more accountability, more oversight, and more evaluating by the head officials. So, like I said, I'm not here bashing officials today. That's not me, because I was an official too, and I sympathize with that. But they're out there. You got to go out there and you got to hustle. You got to run. And I'm going to make that a point to tell the head of officials in Section 5. Look, this is what needs to be done. This is my opinion, and hopefully we get 3 officials now per game. That's another thing I would like to push with the new self starts. It's tough for 2 officials to keep up, and it's even tougher for them to keep up if they're not in shape or not running. Right. So, back to the Pittsburgh game, that they had their opportunities in the beginning. I think their opportunities were limited in the second half by Northport. Controlling the ball, being very, very patient, and I didn't watch the game against Northport and Beeville, which was the next day. Northport ended up winning the championship. But I saw some of the comments online, and one was from the coach of Baldwinsville, and she said, it's tough to win a game when you stall the ball for over 20 minutes. And she's right.
And we've seen it. We've seen it. It's a strategy. But again, you can't get mad at the coach.
Nope.
Because it's allowable. It's a rule. You have to I'm trying to think of what. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't hate the coach, hate the rules. And it just, shot clock. I don't know how long we would see the goalie after a save just stand there, at what would be the 25, 30-yard line, and just let everybody run around for 5 minutes. So, we've got to get there. But challenge accepted.
Right. And we talk about strategy, and the Carol Rose from Northport is a fantastic coach. She's a long-time she's a Hall of Famer. You're right. Strategy is strategy. We've talked about, Brighton and Rich Curtis, right? He's a really good coach. He strategizes. He gets his kid to play his, their system, and he wins, right? And so I guess it's, different strokes for different folks. And I just think a shot clock would really push the envelope as far as game excitement. I think you get more kids playing and more people watching than being out there strategizing to win a game. I had strategy, and it didn't work against Eastport, but their strategy did work, and their strategy was to control the ball and be very controlling, and it's a low scoring game. So
at some point, the powers that be are going to be put on the spot, and they're going to be forced to answer what is your priority? What is your purpose? Is it to make the game entertaining, more fun, more exciting to watch and play, or just let the status quo, stay the way it is, and no shot clock, and let teams waste 10 minutes? You can come out, you can try to double the ball, force the ball. That's just opening up the inside, and they're going to get a cutter, and bada bing, bada boom, an easy goal. So I think the powers that be, they need to be kind of put on the spot and asked, what are we doing? What's the priority?
Well, if you notice that in high school lacrosse, like I said, we haven't been able to get those opportunities of rule changes. But you notice the NCAA has. Mm-hmm. Well, what pushes NCAA?
Oh, we know what pushes NCAA.
I mean,
absolutely.
ESPN, right?
Be careful. Don't get yourself in trouble. But
right.
Yeah.
I can see why, and then the people that are in charge of, of Scholastic High School sports, they're not being pushed by ESPN. They're not being pushed by the networks. And their mindset is, we don't want the game to change. 15 years ago, they were playing natural boundaries. No hard line boundaries. I mean, if you play and they blow the whistle if you go near a tree. I mean, so that's
watch that car,
right?
Dude.
So that's the way that the people that are have formed this game and wanted to stay as close to that as possible. But unfortunately, that doesn't go well with ESPN and making the game more exciting. So
the petitions are going to start flying now.
Right
Let's put it that way. We're going to start. Spazman's going to get a petition, and then we'll go from there. Because I know the majority of the people that I've talked to want a shot clock. Mm-hmm. Players, fans, everybody. Some coaches, the coaches that use that strategy aren't so apt to go, yeah, we got to get a shot clock right now. But
you know what? I was thinking about this, Spaz, because I was thinking about, our podcast and, how it's formed and the conversations that we've had about it. And mm-hmm. I would like to see the coaches that play the slower style, right? Because like I said, their strategy is great. They're great coaches. They're getting their kids, they're getting their teams to buy into that. I would like to see those coaches under new circumstances, under a shot clock. Who knows? Maybe the great minds of lacrosse, maybe their great minds are going to come out and come up with this great strategy to go under the rules where there's a shot clock, right? So, maybe that could happen, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, I commented about the retirement of Rich Curtis and stuff like that, and I'm thinking about him. You know what? He's been a coach for a long time. Mm-hmm. He's a good coach, but I'm waiting to see what he does with a shot clock. Mm-hmm. And maybe he comes up with this masterful game plan to pressure and to get the ball back and to do all that under a shot clock.
And that's not to besmirch or devalue or demean him as an individual.
No.
That's just one coach wondering about what another coach would do and having an opinion about it. And we know what they say about opinions,
right? And if if he's smart enough to be strategic under those guidelines, like I said, who knows what he could do with mm-hmm. Another set of guidelines, right? So I guess I've undervalued some of the coaches because I saw it this weekend. I saw Carol Rose from Northport and the coach from ESM. And like I said, they were very slow, patient, and strategic. But I've seen Carol Rose's Yellow Jacket teams play fast, right? I've seen them play club lacrosse very fast. She owns the Yellow Jackets. She's the coach of their 21 team. Mm-hmm. So I know that she's got it in her mind to play slow or fast, right? She's just going to play the game to win it, which, I give her credit for. And I think you'll see that from some of the teams, coaches in Section 5 as well. Maybe they're going to step up and do that. So I look forward to it because I look forward to learning from it and watching it. But it ain't going to happen until, the powers to be, put everything in place.
Well, we need some change. Mm-hmm. We need change. And you have no idea where I'm about to go right now.
No clue.
But one thing I have to do, I've got it right here. I have got to give a shout out to Sports 5, to the Section 5 boys and girls lacrosse websites. They are
GLAX and BLAX.
GLAX and BLAX are out of this world. When I was, I broadcast 3 or 4 games from which, and somebody called me up and said, how come you're not doing the HFL game? You've got to ask HFL that, because I offered all 4 teams to broadcast all their games. and there's a broadcast fee, which is exorbitant, which
Right.
I'm going to remain diplomatic because I want to continue to broadcast, but it is exorbitant. But there's fees involved, and they weren't able to meet those fees. So but I couldn't find real information on Section 11 teams. And if I did, the Newsday had one different from Max Preps. And Max Preps, love your Max Preps, but catch up. Catch up. They need to catch up. They're so far behind and so off sometimes. But I would have 2, 3, 4 different sources telling me different things. So I just want to give G-Lax and B-Lax a kudos. A shout out. Thank you very much. I'm spoiled. I'm completely and utterly spoiled by those guys because we're the only ones that have it.
Right.
We're the only ones. Section 5 are the only ones that have that resource. And so thanks for letting me go off on that rant.
Yeah, no worries. I'm glad you did because they could probably use some more sponsorship. So anyone out there, I'm sure that's a tough website to keep up with.
It is.
It takes a lot of resources to do that.
And I think the reason I bring that up is because once we lose the individuals who are involved with those, what are we going to do? Hopefully somebody, once that change happens, will pick that up.
Right. Well, it's the same thing that happened with Lax Power, right? Everyone used to go to
Lax
Power.
Also the Section 5 football website and the basketball webs, everything. Right. So, yeah, but spoiled. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So,
well, hopefully we'll be able to push some sponsorship their way and let everyone know how important that their information is to get us the information and to get everyone the information for that matter. So, that's our wrap up on the states. I want to talk briefly, on next year. Pittsburgh. Sure. Pittsburgh's losing, a few seniors. Not too many. I think 3. Canandaigua's losing 6 seniors.
I think with Pittsburgh, I think both Pittsburgh and Canandaigua have the same dynamic. I think more than what they're losing in players and personnel, they can make up for. Are they going to have the same coaches that they have this year? Is Donovan Lopez going anywhere? I don't see him going anywhere.
I don't think so.
He's to me, he's the main component. He's the keystone to that whole thing over at Pittsburgh because and also Canandaigua, they've got the feeder programs. That. So the questions are, to me, as far as those two schools go, more important than the personnel on the field because it's going to be there one way or the other because they have the correct tutelage to take over for that.
Right.
Is Donovan going anywhere? Is Ronnie going anywhere?
No, I don't see Donovan going anywhere. He won again this year. He had some ups and downs, but I think that he's going to lose Ellie Mooney. He's going to lose Nora Anderson. He's going to lose Anya Lucy. Those are his seniors. All 3 of them are starters, but he has a arsenal of kids coming up, younger kids. That are going to have to jump into positions next year. And, he's got a really good junior class with the Sampone twins and Kira Lucy and Casey Mooney. Also Abby Hopfinger and Sophie Brown in there. So
let's not forget McKenna Davis.
McKenna Davis, sophomore. She's, she's coming back. So I think that they're looking really strong next year as well. On the other hand, talking to Morgan Schwab this weekend. I had the luxury of going on the tournament tour this weekend with the Sampone twins and Morgan Schwab.
Did you get a word in edgewise?
No, absolutely not. I actually sat in the back seat while Ashley Sampone and Morgan drove. They switched back and forth, drove. I sat in the back seat trying to sleep. But no, you couldn't. With those 3, you don't get a word in.
That's what I'm saying.
And so, in talking with them, talking with Morgan Schwab, it seems like every team is losing, a handful of really good kids. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be, I'm anxious to see what new kids step up that are in the, the line of to fill spots, right? Next person up. I know in Canandaigua, we lose, some really good kids. So, but I think that I'm real excited about the arsenal I have in Canandaigua. Yeah. Same thing as Pittsburgh. I can only expect Lopez. He knows what he has there, and so that's why I don't see him going anywhere soon because he's got a bunch of younger kids coming up that are really good. A bunch of current ninth graders and eighth graders who are spectacular.
Grace Sinsabo is a freshman.
Yes, so
she's not going. She's going to be around for 3 more years.
She is, and she was the question mark, right? I'm not afraid to say it. She was the question mark this year for Pittsford, you know, and I think that she did really, really well, and you know, she earned her spot. I'll say that with her play.
Well, the thing is you know, she had to make people forget about Messenger. She had to make everybody forget about her, and I think she did a good job of doing that.
Yeah. So, but she's got a younger, you know, an 8th grader, Alden Dussarak, coming up behind her. So you're going to see a goalie battle there for the next 3 years in Pittsburgh, which is healthy, right? I mean, it's going to be a healthy goalie battle. To have 2 goalies like I had, I was very fortunate. I had Quinny and French. So that was a healthy battle, and that really helped my team out a lot. So next year, it's going to be fun to watch. I think, you know, not only with the teams losing a few players, there's a few teams that are losing a lot of players that are gonna put them severely at a disadvantage.
No doubt.
I think Spencerport's one. They're losing a lot of seniors. Rush Henrietta is losing a lot of Division I kids that are gonna go. So it's gonna rear its head in the fall. You know, in the fall tournaments, we're gonna see, and then you're gonna see teams starting to formulate over the wintertime, getting their teams ready for next spring.
Yeah, but that's the good stuff. That's where the coaches earn their money. That's where we find their medal. We find out what they're made out of. So I think we only have a handful of minutes left. So if we're doing the top 5 in Section 5, we should get to it.
I'm going to let you go first this week.
All right, as you know, mine is brought to you by FLX Software, and I am going to give you my top 5 in Section 5 from this past weekend semifinals.
Okay.
You had to know that's where I was going to go.
You have to take from there.
So I have to put her on here. All right, HFL. I'm going to put her on there. Here's where we usually talk about Lexi Ruff. I'm going to throw Eliza Wild out there. She scored 3 of their 5 goals. She had 3 of their 7 draw controls. They only had 7 draw controls the whole game. She had 3 of them. So Eliza Wild is my number 5.
Okay.
All right, my number 4 is Emma Arnold. Emma Arnold wasn't very impactful in the second half, but in the first half, she went toe-to-toe at the draw with Hope. Yep. Toe-to-toe, 5-5. So Emma Arnold is my number 4. My number 3 is McKenna Davis, and I'm going to combine her with somebody who doesn't get the respect she deserves, I think, because some of the things that she doesn't do off the field, okay? And Loren Blakesley, I'm going to give, because she came alive when you really needed her to.
Yeah.
She scored a lot of goals in the last 4 or 5 games. And she had a couple on Saturday, I believe.
Yep,
Did she have a
2
couple?
goals, yeah.
Yeah. So Loren Blakesley and McKenna Davis, they both drew a lot of attention, and they both got a couple goals. So I'm going to throw that out there. They're my 3. My number 2, we talked to her, Andra Savage. She's just consistent. She's consistent, and just like her mother, she's persistent. No question about that. She draws a lot of attention. She's very steady. She always has a presence. She knocked down a couple goals. One was she got wrecked from behind. She got wrecked. Hit it from the ground, and they let it stand. They didn't, wave it off and give her the free position. So in that case, they did let it stand. So, and my number 1, the Clancy Clamp. What she did with Choma was just, I think her face guard is textbook. I think if you were to go, man, is there one player that we can just show some video of how to do a proper textbook face guard? It's Clancy Rude. And that is, you are sorely going to miss her. But Lexi alluded to it. Her influence will remain even after she's gone to play for the Dogs out at Albany.
Yeah.
So those are my top 5 in Section 5, brought to you by FLX Software.
Okay, so before I start, my top 5 are sponsored by Fairport Hots.
Yes.
Joe Katai out there for Fairport
who also
Hots.
sponsored my broadcast.
The entire Canandaigua broadcast he sponsored. So
yes.
That means that he needs to sell a lot of garbage plates.
I will do the best I can.
So I'm personally think I'm going to go over there tomorrow for lunch. Hopefully he'll join me and get a plate, and I'm going to insist that I pay for the plate and the Mountain Dew. He'll probably invite a bunch of other people that I have to pay for, but that's okay too.
Was that an invite from the Spaz Man?
Absolutely. Come on out, get plates
right
at Fairport Hots.
What time?
Probably about noon.
All right.
But no, my number 5 is definitely Emma Arnold. It comes in at number 5. The Hogue sisters, their older sister goes to Carolina. Those two are both going to Virginia. They're really good, great lacrosse players,
Yes.
great family.
Yep.
So for her to go, toe to toe with them in the first half, Emma Arnold gets my vote for
toe to toe
number 5. Number 4. Okay, I'm gonna go with Lexi Ruff. Okay. I'm going to go with Lexi. I think Lexi put her really best foot forward. And, being a senior, going to Virginia Tech, I think that she did really well.
I believe she got the other 2 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ruff did. So Lexi Ruff is definitely my number 4. My number 3, I'm in the middle here about it because Pittsford, they got beat pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got beat 13-3, but I think that defensively, they're defensive midfield. I gotta go with the Sampone twins. At
Shocker.
number 3. Yeah, I know. I mean, I gotta go with them because they play offense, they play defense, and they run between the lines. So,
Sure.
I watched that game intensely and very carefully, and without them, it could have been even worse.
Yep.
Number 2, I am going to go with Lauren Blakesley.
Okay.
That's my number 2. She scored the first goal of the game against Eastport. She was my comeback player of the year.
She got the first one of the second half too. Off a feed from the big rig, I believe.
Correct. So Lauren has gotten better. She was my comeback player of the year. She broke her leg early on, but she's gotten better. So she's going to be number 2 for me this week.
Okay.
At the way she played.
Hey, we're close so far.
Yeah,
Close.
but we're right on with number 1.
The Clamp.
The Clancy
That's her
Clamp.
name. That's her new name, the Clamp.
And the funny thing is that when I, after I left Cortland, I went to UMass, right? And in the first hour, the first person I run into is Leah Gallagher, who's the coach the assistant coach at Albany, right? And the first thing she says to me is, "Oh my God, did you see Clancy lock down Choma?" I was like, "What do you mean? Did I see it? I was right there, Leah."
It was my strategy. What are you talking about?
And she goes, I am so happy. She goes, anytime in the next 4 years at Albany that we are going to face guard someone, that's going to be her job.
Has to textbook, brother.
So she did a great job. She's my number 1 as well. I'm going to miss her so much. The whole senior class, I'm going to miss, and I told them all that, big things are to come for them going forward. And what they said to me is big things are coming for Canandaigua lacrosse. So, they just lost a tough game, right? Heartbreaker, their senior year.
Yeah.
And they're telling me, hey, Canandaigua lacrosse is going to be, the future is bright here. So, for those seniors in general to have that attitude speaks wonders about them, because now they're not thinking about themselves; they're thinking about what's coming underneath them and the the sustainability of Canandaigua lacrosse. So
it's a mindset and it's a culture, and you had a lot to do with that because it all starts at the top. Culture starts with coaching, and they are very team oriented. They have nothing but love for each other. I asked Quinn Tallman during that interview that I did live before you guys took off. What she would like to tell all the fans. And normally that's where they say, oh, go Braves, everybody come out. She said, I just want everybody to know I love my teammates more than anybody in the world.
Right.
And that is very indicative of what you and Canandaigua had going. And if anybody wants to call me a homer, I'm okay with that because you know what? I am. I'm not Jay Billis. I'm not Vitale. I'm not that bad of a homer, but I'm okay with it. And I just want to, one more time, give a shout-out to Fairport Hots, your sponsor, FLX Software, and Keith's Finger Lakes Handyman Services for sponsoring the podcast.
All right. Well, thank you for all the sponsors. Next week, it looks like we're going to go we'll stay with some Section 5 because I know we got a Senior All-Star game coming up, and we'll talk about that.
The Herb Fitch on Thursday.
Yeah, we're going to have some all-grade Rochester selections coming out that we can talk about, and then we're going to go right into Club Lacrosse for the remainder of the summer and talk about, here in Rochester, we have Monster Lacrosse, of course, and we have Relentless Hustle, we have Common Goal, we have FCA. There may be a couple others I don't know about, but that's the agenda going forward. We're gonna transition from high school rock stars to club rock stars girls lacrosse. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see y'all next Monday.
Yep.
And we'll have another tournament in club lacrosse under our belt after this weekend. I believe a lot of teams are going to Live Love Lax down in Maryland. So we'll see everyone next week.
Do your best to be your best. See ya.
See ya.
Rock Stars.
Rockstars Girls Lacrosse.
Rockstars Girls Lacrosse.
The Rockstars Girls Lacrosse Show with hosts Ronnie Davis and Craig Spazman Simmons.